if you're going to promote your business, and that was exactly what he said, is that you need to be visible and we need to get you started doing video. So, kicking and screaming, walking around the house with the Whitney Houston lip sweat from being nervous and hot.
It's no secret that online platforms love video content. It's also no secret that creating video content can easily feel overwhelming. And let's face it, if we're honest, there's a good bit of head trash that we have to deal with too. When Diana Gladney moved from the corporate banking world into online business, she was pulled kicking and screaming into video creation. Not only did she become an expert at it, she has since worked with Amazon, Google, Social Media Examiner, Ecamm, TubeBuddy, and many more. Diana now focuses exclusively on helping busy entrepreneurs to simplify the video creation process.
You have to have a belief in what you're doing that's big enough to continuously beat up these giants. Because if it's enough to make you physically shake, then I need you to imagine socking this fear in the eye.
Welcome to the Story Greenlight podcast, where we're all about helping professional advisors tell your stories so that you can serve more clients and expand your impact in the world. My name is Jeff Barch. I am a communicator and marketing strategist with over 20 years of experience working with ABC, NBC, Universal, Disney, Apple, and thousands of students and clients around the world. At Story Greenlight, we believe that real people trust real people and that human connection is everything. Miss Diana, always stoked to hang out with you. Before we started rolling, you were giving the weather report.
Yes, rain and cloudy without the chance of meatballs.
Good, because those meatballs can get things, they get messy pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So that's good to know. That is good to know. I will tell you, I am super stoked to talk with you because you have just a really, really cool way of simplifying things that can sometimes seem really complicated. And specifically talking about video. So for those who haven't heard any of your background, I mean, you have not always been in the video world. And how did you get into this space to begin with?
Yeah, definitely. I came kicking and screaming, I think, like a lot of entrepreneurs. So I started off looking.
Angst?
Oh, yeah. Like I started off looking for like sales video on how to be a better just improving my salesmanship. And I'm like, okay, well, if I want to do consulting, which at the time I was working full time at a bank, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to do banking for the rest of my life. I don't want to be in the financial services industry. I'm like, but I know I can teach things. And I wanted to help entrepreneurs just understand the basis of getting started with a business. Because a lot of people have ideas. They just say that I don't know how to start a business. So I just wanted to at least start there, since that was something I knew how to do. And I'm like, well, I don't know how to communicate enough to the point of converting that into sales very well. And I'm like, I need a coach to help with that. I didn't know that he was planning on getting me into video. And that was like the first thing he talked about on the coaching call. Like, if you're going to promote your business, you got to do it online and social media. So I'm thinking all of the ways to not be visible. And that was exactly what he said, is that you need to be visible and we need to get you started doing video. So, kicking and screaming, walking around the house with the Whitney Houston lip sweat from being nervous and hot. I eventually landed in the car and I cut the air on. I'm like, okay, I'm just, got the deacon sweat going. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get a napkin and wipe this off and just, shake it off and do it. And did the 60 to 90 second video. And I looked back at that initial video and I said, you know what, this isn't that bad. And I only transitioned from doing nothing to do with video to everything to doing video, because every time I made a new video, which was every few days, just so I could get the hang of it, every new video was a new challenge and I had a new question and I was trying to figure this thing out. And at the time, YouTube was not as great of a resource as it is now, where it's just kind of like an open book. But at the time, there were some great creators on the platform that I learned from. My main coach at the time that I learned video from was Sean Cannell over at Think Media. And I'm like, okay, every time I have a problem, I have to search for a video, but he didn't always have everything. So you got to figure it out. And eventually I'm like, if I keep having these problems, and if somebody's not doing these exhaustive 14-page Google deep dive searches like I am, then they'll never find the answer. So why don't I just make a video? The more I made a video, the more the audience jived with it, and just kind of uncovered a new purpose and passion. And I'm just very passionate about helping entrepreneurs simplify learning video.
Very, very cool. So for anyone hearing this conversation and you're thinking, is it actually terrifying to be on video? Or is it possible for me to be on video even though I can't stand the sight of myself on video? What would you say to them? I mean, they're just genuinely get in their head.
Yeah.
About, I just, no, it's not my thing.
Okay. So to put things into perspective, if I see people in a grocery store that know me or I think may know me, I will either leave the store or go all the way to the other side. So that's how introverted we're talking here. Okay, so I I understand. I have left whole stores like, you know what? I don't need cereal, milk, and toilet tissue. We can get this anywhere. Okay, we don't have to talk to Janice from down the street. All right, so
so scale of 10 to 1, 10 being partying extrovert to number 1 being don't talk to me introvert. You're a -3.
Yeah, exactly what I was going. A -3, exactly it. And so, like, to say be on video is like you're thinking of viral videos. You're thinking of what about the coworker that chides you in the meeting all the time? What about the person that said you couldn't do it? What about the family members? It's like, oh, you're trying something else again. All those things are added on top of however you naturally are. However, I would say this, and this is the way that I got over that early on, and just continuously, it's always like another level. You have to have a belief in what you're doing that's big enough to continuously beat up these giants. And I mean very aggressively in your imagination, because if it's enough to make you physically shake, then I need you to imagine socking this fear in the eye. Give it a black eye, go to the principal's office, get wrote up, go home. like I need you to like violently imagine, socking this thing in the jaw, because that is how strong of a conviction that this is important that I share this. And then when you compare the two of like the why you're doing this and the how you feel or what it looks like and possibilities, first of all, most of the time, the odds of you going viral is not going to happen. So that's just being gracious to yourself on the views. But when it comes to like the vision of the what you have and the why you're doing what you're doing, it needs to be big enough to survive beating up those bullies.
How do you help people get to that place?
It has to be more than money. Like we all are in business to make money, obviously, or, even with nonprofits. It's a book that I love. It's called The Non-Nonprofit by, I think it's last name is Rothschild. Can't remember his initial name, but it's The Non-Nonprofit, which is essentially even nonprofits are business. Okay, well, we started this business for a reason. You're already thinking outside of yourself for the who it is that your brand and your business is going to help. You already know who your ideal clients are for the most part. We're just trying to reach these people in a different way. And when you're trying to get to this place of how do I keep doing this, or, how do I stare into a camera that's an inanimate object and talk to my people, is learning to ignore those people's whose voices you're hearing. And that may be getting very tangible and printing out a paper of your mom, it could be your husband, your wife, or spouse. It could be a client that you actually work with, and taking just a little print of paper underneath the camera or something and talk to them. Because when you have something to actually put your focus on, it's the difference of, it's a great example, talks about taking like a printer paper, something with no lines, no distractions. And if you just show somebody that paper, they're going to look around it, they're scanning for something to focus on. The difference is when you put a small dot on the paper, your attention immediately beelines to where you've put something to have an attention focus towards. No different with this, so you have to give yourself something to do. That's what I initially did for a long time. At first it was my mom, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to talk to my mom. I need to talk to my business coach who understands what I'm doing. So instead of saying that person's name, I just would think like, okay, Jeff, it's this and this and that or whatever with the content. And Jeff, if you're like, I just started talking to that one person. So it's easy to say, think about talking, but it's different if like you put a piece of paper of an actual client that you have and talk to them.
And just to be clear, you've mentioned the people who are the doubters. Those aren't the people to put on the paper.
Obviously not.
the people who love you, the people. I mean, I heard someone say at this point. I heard someone say, imagine, if you're a guy and you're hanging out with one of your buddies, it's just imagine that you're at a bar, sitting at a bar with your best friend, and the camera is your best friend, just talking to that one person.
Yep.
Do you find people getting stuck in that mental space of the camera is this black void of, or this terrifying representation of millions of people?
Yeah, because, and more so, again, it's the thing that we fear most. Like, fear is a great motivator. And so the fact that people see this black void of staring into the lens, this inanimate object, it takes the shape of whatever the imagination does for that person. And so I have to figure out what that person is most afraid of. And most of the time, it's the coworker that they're sitting next to. You know what I'm saying? Or it's the agent's office down the street that, they keep seeing their ads on top of theirs or whatever the thing. It's like, that's why I say put that actual physical picture there. It's like, it's not so much so the thousands, the millions of views. Sometimes that can come into play, like who all is going to see this. But you really, again, you just have to refocus into, who am I making this for? Who sees this is none of your business. Like that's removed from you at a point when you post it online. The who you're creating it for will take care of the who you're going to attract and repel, and all videos should attract and repel someone.
Yeah, we've been talking a little bit about some of this mental obstacle game about getting on camera to begin with. Are there any other obstacles that come to mind that your clients and your people tend to face?
Yeah, I definitely say confusing messaging. The speaking, and here's the thing, once you start creating content, your reticular activating system is on fire. It's the thing that says, I want to see 1997 Buick Century, or you like, maybe that was your favorite car at some point or whatever, grandma's car. Now all of a sudden you pay attention to all the 97 Buick Centuries or what have you. Okay.
And they're everywhere. Who knew?
Everywhere. You see them at the grocery store, at the postal service. Like, it's just like, man, I didn't know all these cars. No, you just are now, you're tuned to it and you're paying attention to it. So once they start getting into creating content, the confusing messaging part comes into play because you're watching other people's content. You're paying attention to what you said or didn't say. So now you're trying to, you're in this power struggle that doesn't have to exist, where you're trying to be better than the next person when their target and your target may be different. And now your people are like, I was following you, I was enjoying what you were doing, and now I'm not, because I don't, like, am I supposed to be here? Am I not? Again, all content should be attracting and repelling. The confusing messaging part comes into play because they're getting distracted. You're altering the what you're saying and the examples that you give and the who you're talking to, because you're paying attention to other co-creators in the space, instead of paying attention to, again, having that little dot on the paper of, here's who I'm actually talking to. And it's fine if you don't fit this psychographic or demographic, but I'm talking to this person. You're welcome to stay. That's why I always teach, you're welcome. Everybody else that clicks on the video, you're welcome to stay, but I'm actually not talking to you. Like, it should be that clear. And the confusing messaging parts coming in play when comparison gets on their shoulder. And again, it's just another one of those big bullies that the longer you let it sit, the bigger and just nastier. It's like the
stinkier and slobbering all over.
Exactly. It's like the commercial with the cold medicine, and there's like a loogie just hanging out in your lungs and such. But it's the same thing. So the comparison comes in, and so now they're watering down and diluting the message, trying to compete when that's not necessary.
Part of it is involving finding one's own voice to begin with, finding your own voice. What do you say to people saying, okay, well, I don't know how to present myself, so I guess I'll just kind of put together a mishmash of other creators that I'd kind of like to put them together to be a version of me. But how do you help people find their own voice with their content?
The number one thing that I find with entrepreneurs, they're not very joyful. They're too serious, like very, it's almost like they're putting on a presentation with a bajillion people in a conference room that is judging whether or not they get a bunch of business or not. Like it's a very, so again, it's another psychological blocker, but your people connect with you because they have learned your personality. They like, you don't smile in your videos. I'll notice that with clients. Like you're not smiling at all. It's like, today we're going to talk about why your accounting client or why, just like, are we, am I going to get hit or what's happening here? So
was this something I said?
Yeah,
okay, click.
yeah. And so it's like, I'll have them, number one, it's like, you have to get in a positive mental state. Find your favorite fun, happy music. Like I love Earth, Wind, and Fire, and just to listen to that and get excited or start singing. Then at that moment, start your video. Sing for a little bit, 15 minutes, whatever, and get in like a positive. I love to watch funny TikTok videos. That's another great way because it's quick dopamine hits. Not going to be longer than 60 seconds. Something funny. I'll save those that I like. So you go to it, you make yourself happy, and then you actually go start the content. Why? Because you're going to start it off with a smile. Whereas it's like the J.C. Penney's used to be the J.C. Penney photographers. They tell you to smile. It's like, okay. Yeah, it's the most painful smile ever versus,
cue Walmart collections of awkward family photos here.
Right, exactly. The too tight jeans, the stone wash, like, it's just horrible. But it's like if you started off like positively excited about what you're talking about, again, staying focused into the who you're talking to. The way I usually get clients to get started, you have frequently asked questions that would be great as videos because they're questions for a fact that are frequently asked. It's a great place to already have 5, 6, 7, 8 different video ideas without having to think of new video ideas because for a fact, that's why you put them on your website. They're taking up real estate that people care about these. So I usually have them convert those into videos. And then also we'll cycle through things that they get via email that your team is taking up a lot of time constantly having to reply to, even if you have templates saved for. Let's attach a video to that. Even if it's not the whole thing, it's enough of a conversation starter. And then we're referring them to you. Now we've skipped over 7 different steps that you may have in the common things that happen in the email cycle. And we can just start from 8. That makes the client that much more valuable. And is this person going to convert to a lead? Yes or not? But you didn't have to keep wasting the time. So we look at those time conversions for content that they have. Frequently asked questions, things that you constantly email. You have data on that already. Those are great things to start with.
When you're getting to a point that someone has come to you and said, okay, we want to do video, feeling good about being here, being present, working on getting my mental state in an uplifted place before I hit record. But then when it comes to deciding on where are the outlets for this content, it seems like there are 80,000 different places that you could put videos these days. And all these platforms all have the things that they want. Some of these platforms want you to stay there for as long as humanly possible. Other platforms don't really care. Other platforms just want you to keep scrolling and they'll feed you what they think you want. So how do you help your people figure out, okay, going to do video, where do we show up? How do we talk about that?
I'm still a diehard YouTube person because everyone's audience is there. Specifically because when people start searching for answers, or even if they're Googling, looking for answers, YouTube is feeding even that on Google. And what you may have noticed, even though the last couple months, is that it's not the written blog post results that's coming up number one For a lot of pieces, it's a YouTube video and you're not clicking onto that video's feed, or you got like the Google search, the images, and then the videos and such. You used to have to click over there if you want to get it, or it used to be at the bottom of the search page. Now it's those queries are coming to the top. So
Yeah.
YouTube is a great way to really hone in and find your community of people that are already in the buying mindset. They're already in a problem solving mindset, and you show up as the go to resource. It's easy to get those people to convert over to the email list, get conversations going, and then cycle them to whatever product or service is best. The next platform is like you have to make sure, number one, here's how this is going to happen. You're going to see this consistently, especially for entrepreneurs. All of these platforms are going to have their unique selling proposition, which is not language we're unfamiliar with. Like YouTube,
Sure.
we know we're going to search. TikTok, endless scrolling, but also for search engine content now as well. You have Pinterest, also great for search engine content as well, but more image heavy. You have Instagram that's more relational, where people are connecting with other people. Facebook as well, unless you paid for a service or something, or you're connected with a page, and that's why you're following them. But it's more, I came here for family first. I came here because the church paid something first. They're going for relationships first. All platforms have something like that. Now you have this feature frenzy that's happening where with Clubhouse, for example, it was social audio. Now you know that Twitter has that. Now LinkedIn has it. It's just everybody picks up features.
Mhm.
So I would say be careful of jumping to something all in 100% and forgetting your main content pillar piece when you're searching after features, because most of these platforms are copying and pasting. So it's really about,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really about paying attention to what's the main thing my audience wants, what's this platform known for, and that if everything else changes, they will still come here for X. Like I said, that's why I say YouTube is great. It's a great staple. And then figure out, where are your people naturally congregating? Like I said, TikTok is a great search engine now that a lot of entrepreneurs is how they can start differentiating. Go and make those same searchable type videos. I don't care if you're a doctor, I don't care if you're an accountant. People are still wanting to know those same basic fundamental questions. You don't have to make a course on it. Just make some simple videos. Start the conversation. You can reply to comments, stuff like that. So I always encourage, go find out where your people naturally congregate, connect with them there. That should be the second related platform that they connect to.
It's interesting that you talk about that whole, oh, well, this platform has this feature. Oh, well, this has short form content, or this has, I don't know, fill in the blank.
Right.
The features really are not, they're more icing. They're not the cake.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe, let's just be really clear on the top platforms, video platforms, just top of mind. How would you describe the core function? I mean, you've touched on it a little bit. How would you describe the core functions of these different top platforms right now for people to wrap their heads around?
Yeah, YouTube is always like going to be long form video. It's his bread and butter, and it's where people not only spend the most time, but it's where they spend the most money. If somebody's willing to go through a 20-minute podcast, a 2-minute video, or whatever, that's fine. Shorts is picking up a lot of great traction, but again, it's a feature that was brought over. Stories is a feature that was brought over. So you can share other stuff there, but the main thing should be those core horizontal videos. Then you have where TikTok is, yes, it's vertical video, but it is the number one form of content that's there is video. May they created some kind of community tab or something? Probably. Introduce stories? Yeah, they've been doing that. But primary core content of 60 seconds or less that does the best kind of content on TikTok because it's video dominant. LinkedIn is something that a lot of people aren't paying attention to. Again, it's still kind of too stuck up a little bit with how they present themselves in the sense of just sharing you, having and opening those conversations. And so I think the way that people would even approach a forum or a blog and you're replying to comments and stuff, LinkedIn is fantastic for that. Yes, you can do these other mediums, but it should be in relation to the conversation. Instagram, again, is relationally because they're connecting with you and the brand. So those pieces that speak to the interest, intrigue, or insight for your target audience, you can post those kind of pieces there. But it's a wild, it feels like the wild wild west a little bit, because they constantly are shifting the where they're putting
Mhm.
attention to. And then Facebook, I believe for most entrepreneurs, is a great staple. It's not something I personally invest a lot of time into, but it is something that historically, especially because of ads, Instagram as well, there are great places to at least have a footing there, if nothing else.
When you hear people talk about, oh, well, there are so many places to be, so I have to be everywhere. How do you? What's your gut response to that?
You don't need to be everywhere, because how your people show up, your core target audience, yeah, we may have an account on all these platforms, but I'm specifically logging in every single week, guaranteed, with a specific intent on certain platforms. Again, if you're an accountant, for example, or if you are working with business owners, let's say you're an accountant and your clients are other entrepreneurs or they are small business owners. When they have a problem with the software and they're needing help identifying a specific problem, they're not going to Facebook, they're not going to Instagram, they're not even going to LinkedIn, they're going over to YouTube, or they're looking for a written blog post or something like that, but mostly YouTube, because it's going to be the fastest delivery method to help them solve their problem. If you're producing a
Mhm.
podcast, that's great. But at the same time, if they're looking for tutorial based stuff, know the specific needs of your audience. If they're looking for things that are like, I prefer to receive this kind of answer in this format, that's going to tell you where they are. So that's how like we dictate the where to be. You don't need to be everywhere. Most of these social accounts, like we like to use later, it'll allow you to distribute to a lot of places, and systematically you can approach this. I love systems. We upload a
Mhm.
piece, just to give some insight into how to do this. We make a, like we have this podcast, we're going to take pieces
Mhm.
of this that are relatable to our target audience, which is content creating entrepreneurs. We're going to label this, like I could say something about social media distribution. That may be a tag
Mhm.
that we add. We'll also add this in Dropbox so it's organized. So everything that's specifically speaking to social media strategy or organization, that may go into a specific folder with that name. So anytime we need to distribute that someplace, it is a one click of a button. And it's like, okay, add this to LinkedIn, add this here, send. So you can have an account without having to exhaust your team on how to distribute this. It's just really labeling your content initially, getting
Mhm.
organized, and then distributing. If you want to distribute someplace, fine. I just say put your attentions on your primary platform and then your number one associative and related platform that your audience is naturally going to gravitate to. And that's either for a lot of people, and you got to think, stop thinking like a marketer and start thinking like the consumer that you're trying to attract. Even your clients log in someplace every week. But why? That's the core question. If they're logging in to connect, it might be Instagram. Why? Because they want to see the stories. What did you eat this week? I'm connecting with your family. They come to care about you. If it's TikTok,
Mhm.
maybe they're still getting information or searching stuff, but they're also connecting with you, just another medium or where they prefer to spend their time.
I know you've had a number of challenges in your life.
Mm.
How have you stayed in the game over the years?
I mean, the thing is, like, my brain works thankfully on systems and efficiencies. When I encountered a new problem, like I deal with stage 4 endometriosis, which means there are times, like
Mm.
for example, last week we couldn't have our team meeting on a Monday, which is when we usually have it. Couldn't rescheduled it for Wednesday, still wasn't feeling any good. So just like, you know what, we have to adapt to what are the ways that I actually operate when you're presented with a new challenge. This could be chronic migraines. It could be you have your children and your children's schedule, or they participate. Maybe they're doing ballet or football or whatever. Whatever that life thing that's happening or that your schedule has to revolve around, all of us have something. What I looked at was over the course of a month, everybody has a typical week that they can expect. Again, for me, the weeks that I'm feeling great, the weeks that I'm not, the weeks that I can kind of push through and still get some stuff done. Okay, over those three variations, we need to have a system that is plug and play. So if things change on a dime and I all of a sudden, like last week, I'm just not feeling great, the way that I stay in the game is having systems. There's a system for that. You know what? If if you get no communication from me, like for example, my team, we have a category of content where over the course of the next 30, 60 days, if you hear nothing from me and you still need to work, there's always something there. There's always micro content that could be pulled. There's always micro content that could now be created into a carousel. There's always thumbnails that could be created. There's always video simplified podcast clips that, like, we always have something. And so there's a way to systematize what you're doing. And that's the best way. So as an entrepreneur, look into what does a typical week look like? Am I busy with a lot of client calls? Do you have a lot of family stuff that's happening? And just build a system around it so that you can be flexible and mobile. But as far as the virality factor, it's like you don't want virality without a system because it's not going to equal success. So we've never had a viral video, but we've had success because we had systems. The problem is those people that want the virality, or you see those unfortunate creators where they get one amazing video to pop off and they have no system to support it. And so now it's a bunch of lost opportunity that can be more detrimental over time, because you like, I wish I had done this. And the life of regrets thoughts comes into play. And that's super damaging to the ego.
How do we think about the idea of staying in the game compared to getting something like the title of a book called The One Right Video? How do we, I know this is something super cool that's coming up for you. You got this book coming up. Tell me about, well, actually just tell me about what the book's about. What's your core idea there?
Yeah. So the One Right Video is about helping entrepreneurs learn to create the one right video that isn't the viral video, that isn't the one that has to stress you and your team out, but it's a video that you can consistently create that connects and converts your audience. And so it's showing that process and that system. How do you actually sculpt out a video? What are the elements that go into that? So you're constantly hitting publish on that one right video that's not focused on the everything and everybody's of the world. It's specifically targeted to your core target audience for entrepreneurs.
So it's not just in a world where everyone thinks you have to get the one viral video.
Yeah.
You're talking more about get the right kind of video, the one right kind with the right message for the right people, and then just keep doing it.
Yep. It's not about like the whole concept of the one right video is something that I was able to do for myself, and things that I'm able to do for my clients consistently and repeatedly. Doesn't mean that you have to be super charismatic. It's not dependent on if you're an introvert or extrovert or ambivert for that matter. Like, it doesn't matter. The one right video is the one that helps you land more speaking engagements. The one right video is the one that helps you get into, maybe you're trying to break into your niche and trying to be that big fish in a small pond. It gets you that next client that converts. And the difference is when you start getting your content to start translating from, I watched your videos, like I saw just tons of emails. I watched this video, or I've been binge watching your stuff all day. And then they book a coaching session, or they become a client, or it becomes a speaking again. So the one right video can change your life and the life of your business, which as we hire more people, we're changing the lives and impacting more people overall.
Love it. Where do people go to get their hands on this?
Go to the onerightvideo.com, onerightvideo.com.
Diana, always a blast hanging with you. Looking forward to getting a copy of this. And thank you so much for hanging out.
It is my pleasure and honor to be here.